Welcome back to Rob Schmidt tonight. Another rough day for America's false idol, Tony Fauci. Between harsh questioning in a Senate hearing and explosive new emails released by the House Republican Oversight Committee, Dr. Fauci was visibly nervous, quite angry. You could actually see him shaking. New emails show Fauci was warned of two things in February of 2020, the possibility that the virus leaked from the Wuhan lab and the possibility it was intentionally genetically manipulated. Here's Senator Roger Marshall referencing yet another set of newly released documents that allege Fauci, Collins, and EcoHealth Alliance were all in on gain-of-function research even after the Defense Department looked at it and said no way.
EcoHealth Alliance proposed DARPA in 2018 seeking funding to conduct gain-of-function research on bat-borne coronaviruses. This proposal, named Project Diffuse, DEFUSE, was rejected by DARPA because the project didn't address the current research's potential to violate the gain-of-function moratorium. The same proposal rejected by DARPA for gain-of-function potential was not rejected but by NIAID under your leadership.
Supporting what Marshall says, the Oversight Committee emails show that Fauci was aware of monetary ties between the NIH and EcoHealth early on in January 2020. Fauci knew that the National Institutes of Allergies, Infectious Diseases, NIAID, worked with EcoHealth to craft a grant policy to sidestep the gain-of-function moratorium. So they knew about gain-of-function. They knew they weren't allowed to do it. They were figuring out ways to go around it. That's where you get into the whole obfuscate the truth thing that Rand Paul always talks about. Fauci knew that EcoHealth was breaking the rules. Senator Paul called out Fauci for trying to ruin Harvard, Stanford, and Oxford-trained epidemiologists who disagreed with him. The senator reading emails between Fauci and Collins. Fauci had no move in that moment except to just call it all lies, and it just looked terrible for him. And then there was this.
Do you think it's a great success what's happened so far? Do you think the lockdowns were good for our kids? Do you think we slowed down the death rate? More people have died now under President Biden than did under President Trump. You are the one responsible. You are the architect. You are the lead architect for the response from the government. And now 800,000 people have died.
Right.
Do you think it's a winning success, what you've advocated for government?
Senator, first of all, if you look at everything that I said, you accuse me of in a monolithic way telling people what they need to do. Everything that I've said has been in support of the CDC guidelines.
Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan joins us now. His name is on some of these documents that have been released. It's good to see you, sir. What did you take away from today? I mean, wrap it up for us, what we saw.
Well, early on, Dr. Fauci knew that this thing likely came from a lab, and he knew that gain-of-function research likely took place in the lab because he gets an email on January 31st, 2020 from one of the virologists who he sent out your tax dollars to. And Christian Anderson, this doctor, says, virus looks engineered, virus not consistent with evolutionary theory. That's a fancy way of saying this thing came from a lab. Dr. Fauci and Collins go into full tilt, cover your backside. They organize a conference call the very next day, February 1st, 2020. And on that conference call, they get 11 of these virologists from around the world who've been, again, getting your tax dollars. And most of the people on that call say, this thing looks like it came from a lab. Yep. But they change all that. Within a matter of weeks, there's an article published by 5 of the guys on the call. 4 of them all said it came from a lab. They thought it was likely it came from a lab. And in this article that gets published, they say, it doesn't come from a lab. So what changed in that short amount of time? I think Collins and Fauci told him, hey, guys, we better get our story straight. Yeah. And don't forget, we're the ones who hand out all the tax dollars.
Right.
So and they were so worried about the Chinese. There's one email from Collins to Fauci who says we got to be concerned about international harmony. So they're more concerned about the Chinese feelings than they are about giving the truth to the American people.
This all goes down this road of whether or not they paid to create COVID-19, if that was the mistake. That hasn't been disproven. It hasn't been proven yet. But we just keep going. I mean, if you went back a year ago, there was no indication whatsoever this thing even came from a lab, according to them. Now we're seeing it definitely came from a lab, and it's the same lab they've been pumping money into. It starts to all kind of make sense that they are scared as hell at the idea that they actually created this virus.
Yeah, when Fauci gets that email on January 31st, 2020 that says virus looks engineered, virus not consistent with evolutionary theory, he is emailing his top assistant. He's emailing people at 2 in the morning, that same, just a few hours later. And then the next day is when he organizes this conference call. And understand who's on the conference call. It's Fauci, it's Collins, and it's 11 virologists. Did they tell the president of the United States? Did they go talk to the commander-in-chief and say, hey, we're concerned that this thing came from a lab and we funded it and they were doing gain-of-function research? No. They weren't giving the president of the United States, who's elected by we the people, they weren't giving him the information. They were spending time covering their rears. That is so wrong. And for this guy to still be the all-knowing Dr. Fauci is such a joke.
And for them to claim, and the media will look at this segment and they'll say, look at these conspiracy theorists are crazy. We're sending money to EcoHealth. EcoHealth is sending money to the Wuhan lab, and this virus escaped from the Wuhan lab. It ain't a big stretch. Yeah. We're going to see where this thing goes. But
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. Congressman Jordan, thanks so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Always good to see you,
bet.
sir.
You too, Rob. Take care.
All right.